I have a slightly different type of pin to share today because this isn't an actual Disney pin, this is a Disney fantasy pin. And this is also my very first ever Disney fantasy pin that I've owned. So if you aren't familiar, fantasy pins are pins that are fan-made. They're not at all licensed by Disney. These are made by types of people who come up with their own Disney-inspired designs and then they get them made at factories. So these types of pins, they're not scrappers, they're not fakes. They're an entirely different category of fantasy pins. And so as you should hopefully be able to tell, this pin is for my Emperor's New Groove collection. So this pin comes from Fandom Flair. You can find them online under the tag Fandom Flair. And they do a variety of different types of Disney fantasy pins. Now there are some people who almost exclusively collect fantasy pins. There are some people who don't like them at all. I think fantasy pins walk a pretty fine line sometimes between actual copyright infringement. Sometimes there are fantasy pins which are just actual copies of Disney artwork, maybe only slightly modified, and in which case those aren't really allowed, but I think Disney has a rule where there has to be so much percentage difference between anything that's their work in order for a person to be able to sell it as their own. And so a lot of times fantasy pin creators are kind of hush-hush about things. I've never been really intrigued by fantasy pins, or I guess I just like the authentic Disney pins that I collect, but when I found out that this pin existed, I knew I had to have it for my collection. So this is the extract of Llama from the Emperor's New Groove. And so this is a pin, there's not any type of authentic Disney pin that exists that look like this. And so I just thought this one was so neat. I know that this was the third version of this Llama Potion pin that the creator has made, and I'm pretty sure they said they won't be making another one using these same molds. So the key of it being a fantasy pin is you can see it doesn't have any type of copyright Disney on the back. It just has the name of what this pin is called, which is Extract of Llama, and this is a limited edition of only 50. So fantasy pins are typically very low edition sizes. Most of the times LE 75 or less. Maybe they might get up to 100, but otherwise I'd say LE 50 is pretty common for that, just since if you're making your own pins, production costs can be a little bit high. But yeah, so now I officially own at least one Disney fantasy pin. I don't think I'm gonna really seek out more fantasy pins necessarily, unless there are some that just like really speak to me, like this one did, like, it's so cool, I really need it in my collection. But so I'm really happy with this one, also really happy with the quality of it, the details, the coloring, super nice. And also hopefully soon I'll do a pin collection video of all of my Emperor's New Groove pins. Since I might say Emperor's New Groove is probably one of, if not my favorite Disney movie. And that's talking in just the strictly Disney sense, not counting Pixar. But thanks for watching! I hope you enjoyed this video, and please do consider subscribing if you'd like to see more Disney and pin related content. And I hope you have a Zip-a-Dee-Doo Disney day!